Today I'm going to be using the youth to gold method to sort out Barcelona. Again, because their finances are horrific and youth to gold can solve that problem. But what is the youth to gold, I hear you ask? What it means is that I'm only allowed to sign players up to the age of 19 years old. And after season 2, I'm not allowed to use players 30 or above. Although I kind of broke it in season 2, but I'll explain it when we get there. But through this method, we need to take Barcelona back to winning Champions Leagues. As well, of course, clearing the debt of over £500 million. So to do this, I need to sacrifice success in early seasons, sell the high-wage players, and buy young, high-potential prospects, and begin to build a DNA of how we play football. So that's our method of attack. Our goals have been set, so let's dive right into day 1 of our job at Barcelona. First things first, a club is only as good as its staff, and I have so many spaces for scouts, which of course is very important for youth to gold. System-wise, before we sign players and create our own identity, it's important to find a system that works right now with the current players already here, and this team really does suit a 4-2-3-1. Scouts are coming through the door though, so let's show you how I set up my recruitment focuses. Easy enough, I set to look for any position, age of course a maximum of 19, always set priority to ongoing, and the minimum current ability down to the grey stars to find the newest players coming through as well. Then head to areas, and because of the amount of scouts I am able to have, a lot of these for almost every single region in Europe and South America and Africa can be selected. Which of course, as you can see, I've set up identical focuses for as many of those regions as I possibly could, but a lot less scouts. It's more important to be more broad with this. Another little trick that people always forget about is making sure you have enough money in your scouting budget. If you go to scouting, you have a look at the scouting budget. As you can see here, I've moved mine. To begin with, it was like up here, which meant that once that scouting budget has run out, your scouts will no longer be able to search for any other players. But by the time all the new players come into the game in sort of the April-March time, you'll have no money to find all of these new gens. So making sure that that is pretty much maxed out as much as possible, because this season, I'm not really going to be buying a lot of players anyway. That's right, don't be surprised if I don't make any signings in season number 1, as I just solely focus on the players already here, and of course, keep a close eye on those amazing academy players. And this season, players such as Kurabasi will get game time, as well as, of course, Lamine Yamal, who both will play a huge future in this project. There are as well some staples of the first team who are incredible talents of the La Masia Academy, including Balde and Gavi too. So it's important that we include that within our rebuild, still using the youth to gold method. And this first season we're going to breeze through because not a lot of transfers are going to come in, and as we say, we are going to sacrifice a lot of success in those early years for the long-term success in the future. So in season 1, by Christmas, Real Madrid had already opened up a big gap in the league, and we unfortunately have drawn Liverpool in the Champions League round of 16. A bid for Manchester City came in for Frankie de Jong, but I instantly rejected it. He's still got a good few years left yet, and that's nowhere near enough for what I value the player at. As expected, Real Madrid won the league at the end of the season, but we only lost 2 games throughout the whole campaign and ended it on 96 points, which isn't bad. And Lewandowski picked up 28 goals, but of course, in season 2, it means we have to say goodbye to him. Our Copa del Rey run ended also to Real Madrid in the quarterfinals after an extra time win when they beat us 3-2. In the Champions League, it was Liverpool who we fell to, again in extra time, after Gavi's red card in the second leg kind of cost us our 2-goal lead from the first leg. We did win the Super Cup though after extra time, beating Real Madrid 4-3, so it isn't all that bad. But this is where the fun begins now, because we've got to look at our squad and decide who's going to leave. Of course, there are a few players who are above the age of 30 that, due to the youth to gold rules, we are going to try and get rid of. That being said, Lewandowski did score 36 goals for us, so that does leave a bit of a hole there. And ter Stegen played 47 games in goal. The other two, it's not too bad. Szczesny and Martinez, we can kind of make do with the players that we've got. But replacing those two with players that are 19 years of age or younger, or players, of course, that are already at the side, is going to be the trickiest part of Season 2. But this is why the Youth to Gold is the perfect method to help a club like Barcelona, because look at our finances. £121 million in the red. The debts are at £424 million, and we've barely spent a penny. It's just these stupid high wages that our players are on. 625 grand for Frankie de Jong. Does make me think maybe we should have sold him earlier, but at the same time, I think we could have got more money for him. Lewandowski on a really high wage. Even the likes of Rafinha, who was very much a bench player for a lot of the season, could be strued as kind of too expensive for us to play right now. That's the kind of mindset that I'm going into, because the players that we're going to be bringing through are going to be nowhere near these wages. I still think that some of the recruitment focuses just haven't worked though. I know a lot of them, they're not going to have the players right now, but even in Western Europe, they found one player, Desiree Doué. I think maybe we need to even alter this and bring this down. Although right now, of course, we've only gone through one season, there's not going to be a lot of new gens in the actual world that we are in right now. It's kind of in season 3 and 4 where you start to see these new gens come through that we can begin to buy them. Because to be honest, I'm bored of buying players that are already in the game from the off that we've had for Football Manager 24 for over a year now. I want some new fresh blood. I want new gens. So again, season 2 might be a boring one in terms of bringing players in, but that's why Barcelona's the perfect club for it, because our development centre is full of fantastic players that I want to bring into this first team, or at least give first team football to. The likes of Noah Darvic, I could definitely see as a first team player for us, maybe giving him some minutes or even some loan time. Alex Vale right now is on the cusp of being a backup for Alejandro Balde. Hector Fort could come in and be a really good right back for us, among plenty of other players in the side that we've already got in the first team. Some of them are out on loan. We've got Marc Casado, who is a decent centre defensive midfielder that if we wanted to sell Frankie de Jong, there's an option to be a replacement. I first of all worked on selling players and got a reasonable £43 million bid for Ter Stegen to go to PSG. For Lewandowski, who is nearly 36, just £2.9 million was offered though. Of course, to me, they're probably worth a lot more than what, I'm actually selling them for. But that's the rules of Youth to Gold. We have to sell these players once they are over the age of 30 because they do have high wages, and replace them later on with cheaper, younger prospects. However, this is the problem I have. Lewandowski is refusing to leave the club. In terms of players in, Tommaso Martinelli, an 18-year-old goalkeeper, is a target I have in mind to replace Ter Stegen, because there's very limited options for the price, especially when players like Restes is nearly £100 million. So I did what I think was the smart move and bring in Martinelli. It cost me just £4.2 million. It saves me spending £90 million on a goalkeeper, which is kind of against what we're trying to do here. And financially, of course, selling the likes of Ter Stegen, etc., with the wages brings just 14 grand a week with Martinelli. He can then rotate with Peña, who we've already got at the club, for the #1 shirt. Szczesny's also left the club and went back to Arsenal on a free transfer. And Martinez finally left to go to Porto, but again, only a free transfer. But here's the problem. We are at the 1st of August. We're just about to start the season anytime soon. We've got Real Madrid in our first game of La Liga, of course we have at home. And we still cannot get rid of Lewandowski. Longley is 29. He does actually turn 30 at the end of next season, so we don't actually have to worry about him this season, which is kind of nice. Kind of leaves, just our focus on Lewandowski. I've transfer listed him. I've done everything I possibly could. Multiple times I've offered him out. The only one offer we had for £2.9 million, and he rejected it. I think what I'm gonna have to do is just keep him here until I can eventually sell him. Hopefully we're not waiting too long. Maybe the January, maybe of course next season. His contract annoyingly is 2026. We can't just bin him off right now. So I think we might just have to break our Youth to Gold rule in season 2 and just play Lewandowski so that people actually still want him. Because when you don't play a player, it's even harder to get rid of them. And I think that's basically what we've got to do with him. It also kind of works out well in a way, because we don't actually have an out-and-out striker. We can play the likes of Ansu Fati there, even Ferran Torres. Lamine Yamal, I kind of want to come off of this wing here. We are actually changing system too. I want to try something this time round. I don't know whether it's going to stick, because I'm just throwing things at a wall to find our identity and our DNA later on. But Martinelli, I want to give as much game time to this season. The rest of the side, I'm kind of happy with them just kind of fighting it out, really. The likes of Yamal will get a lot of game time naturally because he's just that good. I think Fati and Rafinha will need game time and, of course, will need a rest. So we've got enough centre-backs. We don't naturally have a really good right-back. Usually it's Koundé or Araujo who goes in that position. So I'm actually happy with just this style of play. See what happens at the start of the season before we commit to anything. Unfortunately, a 92nd minute Kylian Mbappe goal give us a loss in El Clasico to kick the season off, which was then followed by a 2-0 loss to Real Sociedad the game after. We picked up a win in Robert Lewandowski's final match as he got himself a hat-trick for the club, and I have just received a bid that I actually think he will accept to leave Barcelona. And it's PSG again that have come in with a bid of £3.7 million for the legendary striker, and I think this might be enough for him to leave, especially seeing as he's also now unhappy at the club. And that was enough indeed for him to leave Barcelona, but a very quiet window in terms of transfers in for us so far, just replacing the goalkeeper and loaning out some talents while selling older players. So just 3 games is what Lewandowski played, but I felt like we needed that to happen so that a bid would come in. He scores a hat-trick and all of a sudden the bid comes in. Like, there's got to be some kind of correlation there. But now we can just focus on the youth to gold process going into season number 2. In January, the board accepted my request to allow us up to 23 scouts now, which is fantastic. Although I think we still need to slightly alter these recruitment focuses to allow us to find more players. Because right now, we are getting a lot of players being scouted, but hardly any make it through to the recommended list for us to actually sign in terms of youth to gold. We need a lot of options there. As I am currently not happy with the type of players the scouts are finding us and only giving the established players instead of those hidden gems that we rely on for youth to gold, but the attribute masking is here to make the challenge slightly more difficult. But that's why I love the youth to gold, because of the challenge, and of course when you eventually develop these unearthed wonder kids, you get a nice warm fuzzy feeling in your stomach. Just like I'm giving you right now, your season 2. You must be enjoying it. Why don't you press that subscribe button? Because if you refuse to do so, then I really hope when you go to bed tonight and you think, oh, the pillow's really hot, I'll spin it over. I hope the other side of it's really warm as well. In terms of the title race, we are just 3 points behind Real Madrid in January, right behind them after picking up 3 losses at the start of the season. And of course, their players are smashing in the goals, but so is Ansu Fati with 12. Annoyingly, we just dropped into the playoff spots of the Champions League after a couple of bad results in January, but haven't received our fixtures just yet for the playoff round. But we are in the 4th round of the Copa del Rey against Tenerife. We continue to put up a good fight in La Liga despite selling Lewandowski, as we found ways to score goals still. And the step up and development in players such as Lamine Yamal was pivotal for us in being in a title race at all. Unfortunately for us though, at the end of season 2, Real Madrid were once again crowned champions, and we are 5 points behind them after we just lost too many games and failed to beat them when it mattered. No excuses in both the Copa del Rey and the Champions League though, we were just poor and didn't go far in either competition. The positive this season has definitely been the likes of Lamine Yamal and Koulibaly, who has been a first team player, and I've made sure I've played him as many games as possible. The development is kind of there already. Just age 18, a lot of game time under his belt, that will do him the world of good. Martinelli as well, coming in as our new number 1 goalkeeper. The development has been there. This season though, we only really need to get rid of 1 or 2 players. Christensen and Longley are the main 2. Christensen played a lot of games, Longley not a lot at all. Rafinha we could look at as well. That could be an option that we get rid of. But there's already some players that I found, that my scouts have found, to be fair, that I want to bring to the club. In terms of the recruitment focuses, they found quite a few good players, Javier Grau being one of them, so he's going to join the club. And if we're looking at just scouted players as well, with that 19 cap of an age limit, you can see there's a couple of players here that might be worth the money. Grau we've already looked at, but this man here, Silencio Talia, who was at Ajax, he looks like a really good defensive midfielder. Like a solid defensive midfielder. I've put a bid in for him, 18 years of age. It has been accepted. I am slightly worried about his adaptability and the fact that he could be susceptible to injuries. But right now, our options are rather limited, and he's not bad of a price that I could potentially move him on for more as well. There's 3 players, in fact, that I've made bids for at this point. Fiali being another one who was at Lyon for just £7.5 million. Looks like a solid centre-back option who's also left-footed. I let the contracts of Christensen and Longley run out, and they've both left the club aged 29. And I think I found the perfect long-term replacement for just £7 million in 15-year-old Malian defender Mahamadou Touré. If I can increase his pace and acceleration with a bit of training, we could be looking at generational talent on our hands here, as he already has the base of a quality defender. But right now, he doesn't feature in our new system, which could become the new DNA that I was hoping to create at the club, as we look into a 4-3-2-1 style of formation using a wide inside forward, occupied of course by Lamine Yamal. It allows us to use the new players we have knocking on the door of the first team, such as Casado. Ansu Fati can continue up front where he's doing quite well, and Kabasi and Koundé can develop into a great partnership. Players like Frankie de Jong can thrive with the defensive midfielders around him, and their system started so well for us this season. We blasted through the first 4 games of the season without conceding a single goal. But of course, the first loss of the season happened in an El Clasico, in a 2-0 loss to Real Madrid. The title race was well and truly on though, as we were level on points going into the new year, with Yamal and Vinicius Jr. also topping the Golden Boot race. We had a good Champions League campaign for the league phase 2, finishing in the top 8 as we continued through January being glued to Real Madrid's side at the top. And we got the result of the season when we travelled to Madrid at the Bernabeu as we battered our rivals 4-0 in an outstanding performance. Not only that, we got all the way to the Copa del Rey final and beat them there too, 2-1, to lift our first trophy for the club. Unfortunately, however, the couple of really bad losses in the league might have cost us the league title, as Real Madrid were just relentless, and despite losing to us 4-0, still managed to accumulate 100 points this season to lift the La Liga trophy. There is, however, some positive news when it comes to our run in the Champions League this season. We have somehow smashed our way through the semi-final against Manchester City, 8-2 on aggregate, to go and face PSG in that final. We could have a Champions League trophy on our hands already, and we're only in season number 3 of Youth to Gold. And what a Champions League final it was, as we actually took the lead through the end of the first half through Alejandro Balde, and even doubled our lead when PSG, with of course Lewandowski and ter Stegen in their side, messed around and Lamine Yamal capitalised and scored a second. But that is when it all went downhill for us in Barcelona shirts, because Vitinha scored on the 69th minute, Marco Asensio then bagged an equaliser in the 79th minute, and a near post corner from Marquinhos gave PSG the win. So don't you dare ever have a go at me again for using a near post tactic, because the AI does it as well. Besides that, we had a great season. Runners up in the Champions League, just unlucky really, a Copa del Rey win, and we took Real Madrid right to the end of the season. They're still just so good, 100 points. We even beat them in a game 4-0. And they still only lose 2 matches across the whole season. We know it's going to be hard to beat them. Lamine Yamal actually got one of the highest amount of goals this season. He still didn't win the Golden Boot though, because Vinicius Jr. got one more, but 27 goals from a winger is absolutely exceptional, and he has developed into a world-class talent at just 18 years old. Outside of that and him scoring 38 goals and 22 assists, Ansu Fati had a very good season again up front. Dani Olmo also contributed quite well. But what we've really got to be careful with now is 2 of our best players are actually going to have to be sold. Frankie de Jong. I knew this day was going to come soon or enough, but he has been exceptional for us in our system. He holds that deep line playmaker role so well. He is the forefront of all of our attacks, and now unfortunately he has come to the age of 29. We need to get rid of him. Our only sort of positive is that Al Ahly are looking at him in terms of a transfer, but replacing him is not going to be as easy as what you'd normally have, because in Youth to Gold we can only replace him with somebody at the club or a player that we have bought who is 19 years of age or younger. And we're not at the point where we've developed anybody yet. We've got a couple of good prospects, but nobody is first team ready. There's a couple of options. I mean, Emili here could be possibly trained to play a little bit deeper, but again, nowhere near ready. He's probably better to play in that attacking midfielder role when we replace Dani Olmo, but that's not anytime soon. He can grow and develop. He actually come through our youth academy. Of course, we're going to have players like that as well. Touré, I'm actually quite pleased with him this season. He's come off the bench a couple of times, developing all right, but again, he's only 16. We don't need to worry about that just yet. This is the man that could potentially get a first team position next season, unless we realise we have good enough squad depth, and I think possibly a loan move might be the right way to go. But Sorencio Talia, who we picked up from Ajax last season, has been developing quite well. It could be time that we give him some first team football. And I don't think there's anybody that we can bring in directly to influence that midfield either. If we're looking at players who are just up to the age of 19 and we're going by the best ability, current ability, it's not looking good as in terms of bringing a player in. There's lots of options for us. There are players who I'm looking at thinking we can definitely sign some of these. There's names dotted around here that I might even have a little cheeky bid on soon, but right now, I mean, this guy looks really good for £5.8 million as like a centre-back who possibly we could train to play right back because he's that 13 crossing. Miguel Motta is arguably one of the highest ones on my list. He's Portuguese descendant, who's also Dutch, coming through the Willem II side. That could be an option. There's plenty of players in here that I could bring in, but nobody who's going to be first team ready right now. The summer was rather an interesting one as we received a great bid for Rafinha, but there's also some interest in De Jong still. And as pivotal as he is to the club, an offer came through for £71 million from Saudi Arabian side Al Ahly, and I had to accept. Both those deals went through, and we even purchased Miguel Motta and loaned him back for some first team football, as well as buying another left back. However, there's a couple of really interesting bids that have come in at the same time. Now, there's one for Pedri for 44 up to £92 million from AC Milan, but there's also one from Dani Olmo from Liverpool, 56 up to £87 million. Dani Olmo's 28. Realistically, obviously, we can only use him for one more season. He can play up until the January because he goes into his 30s in the May time, so he could technically play another season, 2 seasons, 1.5 from now, but I think we need to accept it. I know that was a long way to go around it, but I think accepting that bid for Dani Olmo needs to be done. We've got options in that centre attacking midfield role. Of course, we've got Pedri being one of them, which is why I'm going to reject the Pedri bid. But we do have the likes of Noah Darvic, wherever he is around here somewhere that I know is a absolutely quality talent that we can put. And of course, we've bought some other players as well, such as Franco Mastantuono, who's joined the club very recently for £7 million. And I picked him up from River Plate as an option that we could be putting in that centre attacking midfield spot. Possibly loaning him out so he gets first team football and comes back even better. I do think, though, that the Noah Darvic is the option to go for at this time. I'm intrigued to see how a left footer will also do in this role too. 2 more signings came through the door as we brought in striker Alvaro Mendoza for £2.5 million and a new goalkeeper from Catalan rivals Espanyol named Anthony, who we have signed for £7.5 million and loaned straight out to Mallorca for first team football. And that's because right now I'm still willing to give Tommaso Martinelli the spot in goal and hope he continues to develop. The season has already begun though, and Talea has taken to first team football really well and scores and plays a big part in another on his debut. Now the season started well. We've dropped our first 2 points in La Liga, but thankfully we actually saved a point thanks to Pedri's 95th minute, and we've just actually beaten Marseille 4-0 and also beat Tenerife 8-0. So we are underway this season. We are linked again with Real Madrid, both on 16 points, and actually Atletico Madrid too. But I thought now that we've made some big players out, we've also brought in some new players. Let's have a quick gander. So there's a lot of players that have actually gone out on loan, including Ferran Torres. Kind of trying to get rid of him on a permanent basis. Atalanta's come in with a good loan fee of £2.7 million. I thought, why not? Let's just accept that because I've got players in other positions that I can use there. So the new players come in. We got Aselin here, who looks like he could be a really good right back from Monaco, £8 million. Then we've got Reinhold from Brøndby, up to £10 million. Decent centre-back, to be fair, but loaned him back to Brøndby. But the one I'm quite excited about is Johan Garrett from Charleroi, and I've actually loaned him back to Charleroi as well. He plays in the DM role, but what I like about him is he's left-footed, so we've got a left-footed player to play in that 3 in midfield that we've got. And his physicals are really good to begin with. 6'2", has high potential. My scouts were screaming at me to sign him. When we did sign him, it did come up that he was a little bit inconsistent, but I'm not too worried about that. For £13 million, it's worth the gamble. But let's have a look at the finances, because off the back of this, of course, there's £75 million there with only 46 coming in, £87 million there with 16 going in. We have £117 million in our transfer budget. finances is looking so healthy. £325 million, which means the debt and loan has also come down. £218 million. We're almost at the halfway point in terms of the debt, which of course is one of the main things, one of the main aims that we had of this Youth to Gold project. El Clasico at the end of October played a big part at the top of the league, and it was not ideal for us at all. From that point though, we went winless in 3 games in the league and even drew 2 more in December, giving away silly points in the title race. Once again, a solid performance in the league phase of the Champions League though, only losing to Milan 4-1 and picking up some big wins. Noah Darvic was putting in some fantastic performances too and developing really well in the first team, picking up 10 goals so far this season with 7 assists as we head to the back end of the season. Unfortunately, March was a rough month for us as we were knocked out of Europe by Porto again. And one of the 2 games we lost that month was to Real Madrid as well in the league. But a chance for payback came as we have them in the Copa del Rey final coming up very soon. And we made life really difficult for ourselves as we went 2 goals down and had to fight back to take the game to extra time and then eventually to penalties, where we completed the comeback and Martinelli saved 2 penalties to help us lift another Copa del Rey trophy. Unfortunately, the league though was still out of our grasp, and the 2 losses against Real Madrid are definitely to blame for that. This season, Lamine Yamal was again just an absolute stud. I mean, a fantastic looking player now. He's got 20 for vision. The development in his physicals are unbelievable. He is literally turning into the best player in the world. And again, he's only 19 at this point. Giving him the game time has really paid off. But Ansu Fati also matched him with 30 goals. He got nowhere near the same amount of assists, but he's still got 30 goals playing up front while we are waiting to really have that breakthrough striker come through. We've still got 6 years left for us to be able to do that before we have to, of course, sell Ansu Fati. Speaking of selling players, I don't think there's anybody right now who we need to sell, but we are in trouble next season when Ronald Araujo and Jules Koundé both leave the club age 29. That's when we've really started to consider who is going to be playing in that centre-back slot. And we've got some options, of course. The likes of Toure, who's coming through. Hopefully he's going to be ready. But there are some names that I have found through our scouting system. And again, through, of course, the recruitment focuses. There's some players in here that I have picked out that I think could be worth having a pop at. And there is a couple of centre-backs, one of them being Flavio Di Michelis, who isn't bad at all. Again, left-footed as well for 18 years old, not bad at all. And then there's also Santiago Portillo, not quite as good, but still a lot of prospect. Possibly a bit of development, and he could go into the first team. Our under-19s is quite an interesting look at the minute because we've got the likes of Anthony, who has obviously been out on loan and developed quite well at Mallorca. Got a lot of game time there. We also have Marcel Estelis, who is Spanish, but he's been in the Andorran team on loan. He came through our youth academy. He looks quite good. There's a possibility if he continues to develop that he could break into the first team. So that's one to really look out for his name. Johan Garat, of course, who I signed last season. He's been playing first team football at Charleroi. And then there's obviously some players that we have brought in recently. Some have developed, some haven't. I'm still not quite sure who is going to make it into the first team. Alvaro Mendoza could be an option, but for a striker, his finishing's quite poor right now. We still haven't found that striker that we know, all right, in a couple of seasons, he is going to be our go-to striker. We definitely know, though, off the back of this, that Mahamadou Toure could be our starting centre-back on the left-hand side. The pace has gone up to 12. The acceleration has gone up to 10. He's looking very, very good right now. He played a lot of games non-competitively for the youth team, and he's got 14 goals. He takes penalties. I don't know how good is his penalties. 7. I don't know why he's taking penalties, but he seems to be quite good at them. He scored all of his penalties so far. I mean, he looks quite a good prospect. He definitely looks one of my favourite prospects right now to go into the first team. But there's a lot of players that could happen to, and that's the beauty of Youth to Gold. No first team players have left the club this season, and it's just loan deals for young players needing first team football. However, there are some new names, 4 to be exact, that have joined the club in various different positions, and maybe one that actually might make some first team appearances. That being the Bulgarian left back Damjanov. as an attacking left back, he could be something great. Defensive positioning is a worry, but he's come already off the bench a couple of times and scored a goal. And our system certainly does rely on very attacking left backs to work for us and give us width and threat down that left hand side. I'm very much enjoying this system too, as we seem to be scoring goals and rarely conceding. And when we played Real Madrid in December, I was incredibly optimistic about our chances when we took the lead. That was until the 87th minute when Brahim Diaz equalised, and then not too optimistic at all when he scored the winner 5 minutes later. Even still, we are currently sitting in first place above Real Madrid by a point after 20 games, which is promising, but a bad league phase in the Champions League means we miss out on the top 8. I decided to give Damjanov a loan move to Valencia in hopes that he gains more first-team football instead of coming off the bench to help with his development. A 4-0 aggregate win over PSV in the playoff round of the Champions League sends us through to the last 16. Where unfortunately across 2 legs we couldn't score against Inter Milan and lost 1-0 on aggregate. And against Valencia we lost in the Copa del Rey semi-final. When we faced Real Madrid in the returning fixture in the league, it was heartbreaking as a 92nd minute penalty lost us the match. We can only really blame ourselves though for losing each of the match either side of that Real Madrid game, in which Yamal missed a penalty in both games at a crucial point of the match. Not that I can pin any of the blame on him this season, as he's been fantastic and his development now is phenomenal. And it's this 3 run of games which is exactly why we're not sitting as champions in La Liga this season and finishing 7 points behind Real Madrid. The huge positive at the end of this season is definitely the finances. As we can see, we got £400 million in the bank now, which is almost as high as the most we've ever had. 479 seems to be the highest, which is during the season. But the debts and loans are at their lowest. Almost all gone. £181 million. We have just short of £200 million before we can completely wipe the debt free. In terms of players this season, Talea and Darvic were 2 players we gave a lot of game time to. Talea has done really well. He's already wanted by a few clubs and his value is close to £100 million. So I think we spent £12 million on him. He was definitely, 15 million, was definitely worth picking up. He has been a godsend to us since we sold Frankie de Jong. He's been very vital in any success we have had, and Darvic has just stepped up. 23 assists this season. Phenomenal season, really. I'm kind of in 2 minds as to whether locking him in next season to every single game or letting him just kind of fire out a little bit now. And Anthony, I gave him football and he repaid us. Like, he's gone in instead of Tomasi and done really well. I mean, 36 games. He's kept 20 clean sheets in the league. I know we're Barcelona and we have a very good team in front of him, but I just think that's absolutely exceptional. Now, the downside, what we're going to have to face next season is we're going to have no Ronald Araujo, no Jules Koundé, and hopefully no Ferran Torres either. I'm still trying to get rid of him. Haven't really played that many games yet. But I think losing these 2 defenders is going to be difficult to recover from. We haven't exactly got the ready-made replacements that I usually like to get in on the Youth to Gold right there and waiting. I mean, of course, we have got a couple of players who can do it. Kabassi is now looking absolutely fantastic. And then if we're looking a little bit younger, then of course we have got somewhere our defender that we brought in recently, but I can't see him right now. There he is. I got him. Toure. Mahamadou Toure has developed quite nicely. He hasn't played that much this season. I think I'm just going to rock with him. I think locking him in, playing him as much as possible. He's 6'6". His pace has gone up to 14. Remember when I signed him when he was 15? And I was like, his pace is a worry. Nope. He's done very well. Pace up to 14. I'm happy with that for sure, and he looks absolutely solid. It was tough to say goodbye to Ronald Araujo this summer, but Man City coughed up £84 million, which is good to add to the debt payments. Jules Koundé also went to Manchester City, but we only managed to get £30 million for him. We even got more for Ferran Torres, who barely played last season, as he went to £35 million to Saudi Arabia. Iñaki Peña also left the club. He was another player who was just about to turn 30 this season, so we had to let him go. He went for just £2.4 million, but I never expected him to really leave for anything, if I'm honest. A couple of free transfers have left, a couple of loan players going to get first team football, which I think is important. Alvaro Mendoza being one of them. That's one to keep an eye out on. Our scouts rated him really highly. And Ruben Navarro, De Michelis, couple of these players are new, and Esteles, who I mentioned previously, hasn't quite developed as much as what I hoped. Hopefully this loan spell would give him that development. So some of the names that you might not recognize: Ruben Navarro, £35 million. Now normally I don't really spend this much in Youth to Gold, but he is natural on both sides of the pitch and he's good with both feet. Spanish, 18, scouts rate him as a 5-star potential. Decent mental attributes as well, with 15 positioning already and good pace and stamina. I felt like it was actually worth paying that much money for him. I mean, he's consistent as well, which is all great. Everything is coming up as positive for him. So spending £35 million, although up front seems a lot of money, I think this is a deal which I can kind of like turn a blind eye to, because we are bringing in stupid amounts of money as well. I mean, our transfer budget is still 275 million with a whopping wage budget as well. We could go up to like nearly 400 mil. So I don't quite mind that one. But I guess those are like the compromises you make in the Youth to Gold system, because then we go and sign somebody for just 500k and also loan him out. And he isn't bad either. He plays on the right-hand side. He's Venezuelan, which is kind of cool. We've loaned him back to the same club. He's already got 3 assists and 11 appearances. Happy days for him. We've got a player from Club Brugge, £6 million. We've brought him in. I actually look at this and go, this could be a really good striker. Until he joined us and his potential flopped from 4-star to 3-star. So sometimes I don't know whether to judge that, because obviously it's down to the coach who's rating him that high instead of the scouts. But there we go. We went to Buriram United, a place to go if you're looking for some really cheap like sort of Asian players. We signed him before he turned 20. Haven't sent a lot of scouts out to these Asian countries, so it's very rare that we pick something up here, but we did pick him up. Again, he's just really cheap, and these are type of deals that I haven't made in this Youth to Gold yet. Deals that, all right, I don't think he might ever play for us in first team football, because his potential suggests that he won't get to a high level. I do also got to remember that our highest level is Lamine Yamal, so I can understand why it's only going to be a 3-star. 3-star left back might actually be really good, but he could be coming in for 500k. We loan him out a couple of seasons and sell him for like 15-20 million, maybe even more, which in Youth to Gold is like perfect. That's exactly what you want to happen. There's a couple of others like that we have done previously as well. But then I ended up going quite big on a couple of signings here. We spent £90 million in this window. Easily the biggest window that we have spent any money in. Pep Catala might challenge Anthony for the #1 spot in goal, and he's only 18. I've had him on my radar at Villarreal for a while. I even put a bid in 2 seasons ago maybe, or even 1 season ago. Had it accepted, and he rejected and signed a new deal with Villarreal. It cost me a lot more this time round, but he's a better player. I mean, he was playing first team football for Villarreal last season. Like, he played 5 games for them in the league. I think he could be challenging for Anthony in that #1 spot, as could Zaruki in one of those defensive midfielder spots. He needs a little bit of time and love and growth, but we picked him up from PSG, which is why it cost us a little bit more money. But I think it could be worth it. Tactically, we're still setting it up. However, this time round, I am going to give Toure my full attention at that centre-back role. And at the minute, I kind of want to give Anthony half a season to prove that signing Catala is a mistake, because he should be wearing our #1 shirt. We'll see about that, though. But either way, I think Toure, locking him in, making sure we give him everything we possibly can to grow, I'm hoping we see a player that is far better than this in a season or 2. It hasn't quite gone our way, though, this season, as we've been drawing far too many games and are 7 points behind Real Madrid already. And it was a bad season all year round, as we lost in the Copa del Rey final after going 1-0 up in the first minute against Las Palmas. We were also eliminated by Araujo and Koundé's Manchester City in the Champions League quarter-finals. And Real Madrid went unbeaten all season to lift La Liga, and they are getting harder to beat every single season. But at least Yamal got the golden boot though. It is important to take positives from the season though, like this man, who has developed into an absolute crazy left back and has such a good season, getting 6 goals and 9 assists. And on the other side of the pitch, Miguel Motta, the Dutch right back, played even better, getting 6 goals with 11 assists in 30 games. Not to mention, I'm still loving the development of Mahamadou Touré, who's grown as a player this season by season, and is now a starting left-sided centre-back for us. And if we're looking at his progress for his attributes, his acceleration and pace alone have both gone up by 7 since we signed him. So yes, this page sucks. We should be winning the Copa del Rey against Las Palmas. That goes without saying. Manchester City knocking us out is just a wild coincidence and just annoying because we sold 2 of our best players to them in the summer that they knocked us out. But the La Liga, I mean, going unbeaten across the whole season, how do you beat that other than actually beating them yourself, which of course would have meant we'd have won the league. But we're still not quite there yet. I think we're right on the cusp of things. We were still waiting for the likes of a right back, a left centre back to come through, and obviously selling Araujo and selling Koundé has put us back a couple of seasons in terms of being ready. But we needed that season full of development to make sure that we can be back the following season. Lamine Yamal's season here is absolutely exceptional. Crazy stuff. We also had the most clean sheets alongside Unai Simon for Real Madrid with 18, which is great. And then, of course, the development of the players that we have now, I think that's really good. And we don't have to worry about the ages too much because Eric Garcia has at least another year. He played 51 games. I might even sell him anyway because I think there's certain players that should come in and be ready to take over in his position. I think we can afford to let him go and not worry too much about it. Even players that are coming in off the bench and playing a lot of games, to be honest, are not far off of where Eric Garcia is. And yeah, our finances are nearly at £600 million and the debts and loan is down to £112 million. The goal is in sight. We just need to start smashing some trophies. Transfer-wise, we kept it simple with a lot of loans. Alex Val going for £8 million, and then more loans for young prospects. A slight tweak to the system as well as we changed the middle player of our defensive midfielders from a deep line playmaker to a standard defensive midfielder on support. Although I'd still be open for a loan offer for Alvaro Mendoza, he's going to get some minutes playing up front this season at the expense of Ansu Fati. It's been a weird start to the season, I'll be honest. We drew 3-3 with Cadiz, but we were down to 10 men when Gavi got himself sent off. We then actually had to go and score a late Ansu Fati goal to actually equalise. So we saved a point there, but then we won the next 3 games 3-0. So I'm not quite sure how this season's going to play out. However, we are about to play Real Madrid twice, back-to-back in the league and in the Champions League. So hopefully we throw them off with a loss in the Champions League and then beat them in the league, and maybe we could be claiming the La Liga title this season. There are some new names, though, who have come through the door, and not too many. Of course, we've just been kind of getting like 5 or 6, maybe a little bit more every season because we've got so many players who are also coming through the academy at the same time. A lot of them haven't really featured, but there are some players that have been given minutes, Jan being one of them, just come off the bench a couple of times because there's just so many options that we have right now. And of course, the La Masia Academy was already full of players breaking into the first team. So we've got Uriel Cruz, £8 million. I think this is quite a good attacking midfielder from Argentina, from Racing Club as well. A good signing, I think. That's a nice little one there. Kim Ho-young from Salzburg, South Korean, who actually come through the Salzburg Youth Academy. Kind of rare, but again, he looks quite good. Plays up front. I'm not sure whether that will be his finishing position, but there we go. Thomas Durand is another one. £5 million from Lausanne Sport. Looks very good from the left-hand side, but we don't necessarily have a left winger yet. He's only 18, though, and he's Swiss. I think it was definitely worth it for just £5 million. Alberto, though, for £3 million. This guy could be something really good. He's 18 years old, decent potential, looks like a good striker. I kind of do like that, other than the fact that he's got some bad coach summary aspects, like injury prone, and I don't know, maybe not, but I thought when I signed him, he might be a bit of a dark horse there. Claudio Bringoni, £90 million. You can't take gambles with that. He's gone back on loan to Hellas Verona for game time, but 5-star in terms of the potential centre-back we could have on our hands here. So, yeah, for now, I'm happy with that. But if we're looking at our tactic right away, these guys I'm going to try and play as many times as possible. But if we're looking at the rest of it, we are set. We are exactly where we want to be. Darvic has kind of been in and out of the side. Pedri's kind of locked him out of that, but the development of Darvic is still really good. I do really like him anyway. But these three in midfield have been solid for me. Like, cannot complain. There's obviously the likes of Garat, who I keep loaning out, and he keeps just getting better and better. So I'm like, I'm just going to loan him out again until he's ready to replace the likes of Gavi or Casado, who both really deserve a position in the team. So I can't really complain too much of them. So for now, I think we just keep plugging away. We just keep plugging away. And hopefully we have a good season and Real Madrid cannot go unbeaten again. Well, my plan against Real Madrid worked as we lost the Champions League fixture 2-0. And then we beat them in the La Liga fixture with the exact same scoreline. But could this actually be our year? Because despite Mbappe scoring goals for fun, Real Madrid are in 3rd place by February and 6 points behind us in the league. We even finished in the top 8 of the Champions League phase as well, meaning that we avoid that dreaded playoff match. The second league match that we had to play against Real Madrid went in our favour too, after Vinicius Jr. got himself sent off and we won the game 3-1. We also went to a penalty shootout to knock them out of the Copa del Rey at the semi-final stage, going on to win the final against Girona, with Emili scoring the only goal of the game after I told you he would show up at some point. In the league, we felt absolutely unstoppable, like we beat Real Betis 11-0 at home. There are other victories like this too, when we won 9-0 as well. The system was working well and our DNA was clear to see as we stomped our way through La Liga. And we secured the league title by 9 points after only losing 2 games, with Ansu Fati and Lamine Yamal nearly scoring 30 league goals each. Debt-wise, we are very close to completing our task of clearing it, as we have just £61 million left there in that bank loan, which is annoying because we have reached the Champions League final against Real Madrid this season. So to face the Real Madrid side in the final, we are taking some risks. Lamine Yamal is not exactly fully fit. We're also playing Pedri in a position that he can't necessarily play just yet. It might be better to actually stick him out on the left, although it does look like he actually has a nice little link that way there. We'll keep it as it was. But for now, we're just going to have to go with it. There's a lot of players who are either out, injured, or just not fit enough to play. So we're just going to have to put our hopes in this team right now. And of course, Carlo Ancelotti is still the manager of Real Madrid. And as we're setting up in our system, what's quite interesting is that Carlo Ancelotti's Real Madrid is still rocking with the diamond. And yes, your eyes aren't deceiving you. That's Jules Koundé, who has signed for them. And actually, I believe that guy there is also a player that I signed and sold in a previous season. So 2 players at the back that used to play for Barcelona. Oh, actually, I take it back. I've never signed this guy, although he has been on my scouting a fair amount of seasons, because I remember him. I think I showcased him in one of the seasons, to be fair. But he made a £50 million move to Fenerbahce. He's only 21. Looks fairly decent, but I'd need to scout him a little bit more to see what he's fully like. But yeah, he's in the team. First highlight of the night, and we're giving the ball to Damjanov to do some danger down that left-hand side. Pedri can do some damage as well, I think, from a deeper role. That's a lovely ball from Gavi, but oh, Ansu Fati's locked out massively there. And there's Mott on the overlap. Oh, Fati, what a chance that was from your bad touch as well to begin with. We do not want to concede first. Then we're just chasing the game. And that's never good. Somebody's got to challenge Valverde, surely. Badiashile, Camavinga, what a shot. It's ricocheted everywhere. But we cannot get it clear just yet. Curtis Jones has signed for Real Madrid, but he's played it across. How has that not gone in? Darvic is now on the break. We've got men over here as well. Ansu Fati, what a run. They've just hit the post. And there's Darvic. Oh, Noah Darvic, unlucky. Corner ball. Knocked it in. Headed out. Lamine Yamal plays it back to Pedri. Pedri Darvic. Get in! Noah Darvic. I knew it was the right move to do, to trust Noah Darvic in this game. Cracking finish too. All right, Pedri's got himself an assist, playing in a position that he doesn't normally play, although obviously it did come off the back of the corner, but still it counts on the record books. it counts. What hopefully doesn't count is this attack that Real Madrid have got now from Jules Koundé. Valverde, oh, he can hit them, can he? Oh, what a save from Anthony. Unbelievable save, that. Oh, don't score from the corner. Oh, of course they bloody score from that same corner. This ain't going to be easy. All right, another attack down the left. Gavi's got time and space. It's 2-1. We've got a game on our hands here, folks. This is back and forth, a lot of action, terrible defending, some questionable goalkeeping as well. Because I'm pretty sure we've hit that shot straight at Lunin, the second one, and it's gone in the net. That was 3 goals in 10 minutes there. Oof. Don't go back too far. But we're right on the stroke of half-time now. Motta has found some space down the right. Can he work some more space to cross the ball in? No, but there's Talea. Lamine Yamal. Gavi. He's found Damyanov. Yes! I love that guy. Dobrin Damyanov. Unbelievable. Sometimes I say his name wrong, but he's Bulgarian. He looks scary, and he is our left back. What a player he is as well. A cracking sign-in for like £1 million, whatever it is. Boom, left foot, bottom corner. Love that. All right, we can be really pleased with that halftime score. We're 7 shots to their 5, so a lot of it's quite equal, but we have been really clinical. Some questionable goalkeeping again. That last one, not so much. That was just an unbelievable strike. An 8.3 he's putting in so far. Pedri in the DM role. Never played there before. Doing really well. Sometimes I just know what I'm doing. All right, we have been seeing this half out. 84 minutes. I haven't even made a sub yet. So let's just do that. Yamal has had a stinker, by the way. Like, that is really poor. Let's bring on Emili. He can play on the right-hand side quite well. Ansu Fati can come off of Vitor Roque. Not really featured. I do feel sorry for him in some way, but hey, you're in the Champions League final. You're about to pick up a trophy, fella. So, Casado, he definitely deserves to come on the pitch and pick up a winner's medal. I do like that. And maybe Ruben Navarro for Miguel Motta, who can have a bit of a rest. And let's just see this game out. No silly business now. We've got 5 minutes left to just hold on, stop anything from happening, and pick up a Champions League trophy using the youth to gold method. And time is running out, but there is one last highlight, but I think it's going to be too late anyway. 30 seconds to go. Or let's just put a little cherry on this cake, shall we? A nice little cherry on top of the cake. Or we give him a consolation. No, Kabassi doesn't believe in consolation goals. Kabassi doesn't believe in that at all. He just powers it across the box and then he's out of position for them to nearly score. We're all good. It's the 94th minute. The referee probably has his whistle to his mouth. And there it is. Barcelona are European champions once again. It's took a while, but me and my lovely green jacket, we're going to pick up the Champions League trophy and lift it for La Masia Academy, for the Youth to Gold method, for Barcelona, for the Omega Luke channel. But there's still some things we need to cover. There's still some things we need to tick off on our list. And so we kept going until the debt was finally cleared to complete our mission. 1 full season later, and it's a semi-final exit of the Champions League, but a domestic double with a cup and a very close league title win. But despite having this much money in the bank, there was still £8 million of debt left. Quick check up on some players' development though. After all, that is what the Youth to Gold is all about. And I've grown to love these players across the 8 seasons now with the growth that we have seen in them. But just a couple of months later, with over £1 billion in the bank, Barcelona's debt has finally been cleared. All thanks to the Youth to Gold method. Once again, it is my favourite method of playing Football Manager, and I really hope you enjoyed the journey too. So please make sure you are subscribed, and if you want the save game file so you can check up on these players, maybe even continue the save, you can find that on the YouTube channel membership page or on the Patreon. Thank you very much for supporting, and make sure you check out this video on screen right now.